All right, guys, this is Rob with Utah Single Tracks, and back for another edition of today's videos. And today I'm going to be changing my oil on my 2019 KTM 300 XCW, and this is a TPI model. As you can see, I've got my oil fill spout here. This bike, I'm actually getting up on hours now. I've now got, I believe it's 201 hours. So what I've done on this bike ever since I bought it brand new from the showroom is I have, after 5 hours, I did my first initial change, and I've done it on the 20-hour mark, or as close to 20-hour mark as I can for the additional changes. Where I'm doing trail riding instead of motocross, I feel like changing my oil about every 20 hours is just about right for what I'm doing. So I'm going to go ahead and get this bike started, get the oil warmed up, and we'll bring you back with the parts and the tools you need to get this oil changed. All right, guys, welcome back. So now I've got the oil warmed up on the bike, and just gonna go through the tools that I've got here for this oil change. First, is this a 2019 300 bike? I'm running the Tusk crush washer. It's the M12 crush washer. I'll be replacing that with the one that's on the bike. I'm also gonna need my 13mm T-handle for the oil drain plug. And I'm using this that I wanted to showcase a little bit. And this is the Bulletproof Designs oil drain tube. And I'll show you why that comes in handy. And I've also got my Motion Pro oil filler tube, which also is very handy to use. So I'll take you over to the bike. Here I've already got the bike laid down on its right side, so the shifter lever is in the up position, and I'm going to go ahead and loosen this drain bolt here, which is a 13mm. So using my T-handle, I'll break that loose. And I'm going to go ahead and take that oil drain plug out while the bike is on its side right here. You have that loosened up, I'm going to pull the bolt and the washer. You can see I've got this magnetic, and so it's collected any shavings that might be in the case. All right, now that I've got the oil bolt removed, I'm going to use this Bulletproof Designs drain tube. You can see it does have a rubber gasket that'll help seal it up. And this doesn't need to be tight because there's no pressure. So go ahead and just lightly get this threaded in just by twisting that tube. Into that spout, and I leave this red cap on until I get the bike stood up. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the bike tipped back up. Get my kickstand down. And now I've got my oil pan positioned under the bike. Go ahead and pull that. You can watch the oil begin to drain. And there's definitely time to change that oil. It's a little dark. But I'll also go ahead and loosen up the oil fill cap here. Relieve some of the pressure and let that oil flow a little bit better. So as you can see, I run a Enduro Engineering aluminum skid plate, which I really like. However, it's a pain to try and take that on and off to change the oil. That's where this tube comes into play, because it'll get the oil away from everything that I'm doing. While that's draining, I'll take you back over here to this Motion Pro filler tube. Nice part about this is it has a shutoff gauge here, and on my bike in particular, I know it takes 800 milliliters, which is the very top line on this Motion Pro funnel, and I'll be using the 15W50 Motor X, which is recommended by KTM oil, and I put that in all my bikes. It's worked really well. I know it's maybe a little overpriced and you can do other oils. However, for me, it's worth just my sanity and the easiness of ordering to order the same product for each of my bikes. All right, guys, so this is on my phone off Rocky Mountain's website for that oil drain tube. And for my bike, it is machine specific because of the diameter of the bolt threading. But this part number, if you can read it there, is 19806400001, and it's a good deal at $11.69. I mean, it's a simple tool, but it saves a lot of mess and cleanup as you're doing your oil changes. I highly recommend getting that for your bikes. All right, guys, now we're back to the bike. As you can see, I've pretty well got this oil all drained out. There's just a teeny bit left in the tube here. I'm going to go ahead and replace the red cap to keep oil from spilling on my garage floor, and move the oil pan out of the way. And then I'm going to come back to the bike and lay it back on its side. So bear with me while I do that. Okay, so now with the bike laying down on its side again, I'm going to go ahead and unthread from below here this oil drain hose. And there we go. I'm going to go ahead and lay that on a clean paper towel. And now I've got my oil drain bolt cleaned. You can see the magnet there on the end. Get all the metal shavings that are there off. And I'm putting on a new 12 crush washer. Go ahead and get that bolt started there. I like to get it finger tight to start, so I know I'm not cross threading. And then I'll take my 13mm end wrench and I'll tighten it down. Now, one thing to remember on doing your oil drain bolt, do not torque it down too hard. These just need to be put in snug. I've heard a lot of horror stories about guys stripping those. So that is that new crush washer installed on the bike. I'm going to go ahead and stand the bike back up now. So leaving my kickstand down, I'll go ahead and tip this bike back up. And we'll come over here, a little bit of dirt on the edge there, and we will refill the oil with this 15W50 Motor X oil. So right here, try and stay in camera view a little bit if I can. I'm going to go ahead and fill that to the top line, which again is 800 cc's of nice clean oil. And we'll bring this over to the bike here. So now I just simply turn this nozzle and let that oil begin to feed down in. Keeps everything nice and clean. Notice I haven't spilled anything over my crankcase. And just let that oil feed right down through. Go ahead and open it all the way up there. And I know on this bike that that's exactly how much oil I need. However, if you do need to check your oil fill level, sorry, it's right here, right next to this case. So just to the left of your crankcase, you can see where it says oil right here above the brake lever. You pull that 8mm bolt and make sure that your oil level begins to seep through that hole, and that'll let you know that you've filled it to the right level. At this point, I'm just going to go ahead and replace my oil cap that I've made sure I cleaned off really well. And that is it for the oil change. Well, thanks for joining me on today's edition of Utah Single Tracks. Hope you enjoyed learning about the Bulletproof Designs oil drain kit. I find it's really helpful to use, and hopefully you'll find that out as well. Again, if you want to see that, get that product, it is on Rocky Mountain's website. Pretty easy to surf through their site and find the parts you need. But please subscribe down below, and look forward to posting more videos for you. Thanks.